I've gone through everyone's tips and tricks videos and combined them with my own to create 10 tips and tricks to help get you started in Manor Lords. Use shrines to move animals. This one is a great tip for getting wild animals closer to your starting zone and not having to worry about running out of food. Place a shrine within the zone where they roam and they will relocate to somewhere else. You can do this as many times as you want. I'd recommend aiming for a safe distance away though. I found that if they relocate to be really close to your settlers camp, once you put up a logging camp, the workers may encroach into the wild animal area, causing them to migrate again. So try to aim for somewhere a little bit away from your camp. Don't forget to remove the shrines once you're happy with where the animals are, as you don't want your unassigned families to start building them. Use granary and storehouses to ensure a certain type of stock gets collected. As you progress through the early game, most likely everything will be collected into one granary house or storehouse. By selecting the storehouse and clicking advance, you can change what items are stored. An example of how this can be useful is if you have an iron deposit that you're mining. If you place a bloomery next to the mine and then a storehouse, you can set it so that it only takes goods like the iron ore from the mine, which the bloomery can then use to make iron slabs. Plus, you can also set it so the storehouse accepts the iron slabs that are made, and then later down the line you can build a smithy so that you can turn those slabs into tools and put into the storehouse. You can then use them for export if you want and build some regional wealth. It's a good way of keeping track of stock through the production process. You can repeat this for whatever industry you choose to go down. The same concept can be applied to the granary as well. I found it useful for storing carrots and bread to keep track of food supplies early on. If you're going to grow carrots in the burgage plots, then assign a family to a corpse plot so they can focus on growing the food. Whilst growing carrots is a great way to get a food variety bonus, you should remember that a family will need to be at the burgage plot to look after and grow the carrots. If the family is assigned to the logging camp, they won't have a lot of time to be at the plot to look after the carrots. I read in a YouTube short that someone assigned a family to the corpse pit, which rarely has any work, so that their sole focus could be on the carrots. The families that grow the carrots will also need to take them to the granary, and if they are assigned to a workplace that is constantly in use, they won't be able to take them. You can play around with this a little bit. As you progress through, you could slowly build up an area where everyone is dedicated to carrots, ensuring you always have a constant food source. Focus on trade. Planks are an easy way to get started on earning some coin from very early on in the game. One of the resources pretty much always available is wood. You can use this to your advantage by creating a saw pit, which you will need to do in order to build the church. The saw pit will create planks from timber. Planks are used a lot, but it's easy to create an excess amount of them. All you will need to do is build a trading post to be able to export any goods or food that you have. Once built, click onto the post and select trade. In the first tab, you'll see planks. The first number you see is how many you have overall, and the second number you see is the surplus amount that you want to keep. Click onto the left side of the tab where no trade is and select export. You can then go into the desired surplus and change this to whatever you feel comfortable with. Each month the trader visits, you will gain regional wealth based on the amount that you sell and the trade price at the time. This is a great way to be able to afford some imports of items you don't have, or what I prefer is to use them for building carrot, goat or chicken farms early on. Focus on the storehouse, granary, timber, burgage, hunting and berries. When you first load into your settlers camp, there will be supplies on the ground. The priority is to get these in the storehouse and granary so they don't get soaked by the rain and snow. So build these two first. Then get a logging camp so that you have a continued supply of timber so that you can carry on building. You will start with some food, but it's always worth checking for berry deposits and where wild animals are located. You should build these next to ensure a steady supply of food early on. Once these are all built, focus on getting your families into homes. Build enough for the families you start with and one extra so that another family will be able to join your town. This only happens once your approval is above 50%. Next, build a woodcutter's lodge to supply the homes with fuel. Finally, build the church. This will increase your approval rating a lot and is one of the requirements to be able to upgrade your burgage plots to level 2. Move families around to help build and work on different things. To get the best out of your town, you'll need to move around families, especially at the start. As in the previous tip, you'll need a lot of timber to continue to expand. When supplies are low, take a family off the forager hut and move them over to the logging camp to get more timber quickly. The same applies if you've set up a lot of different construction that is yet to be built. Take families off things that aren't key to keep the town going and leave them unassigned. This will allow burgages to be built quicker so that you can get more families in and expand even more. Keep moving them around depending on what it is you're trying to achieve. This is key early on to maximizing efficiency out of the small number of families that you have. If you find it's not working and you're leaving yourself short, then dial back how many you're moving around and try to find a middle ground to get everything back in balance. Having 2 oxes helps massively. You'll start with 1 hitching post and you should immediately get another one and buy an ox. Having 2 oxes will allow you to transport timber around your town a lot quicker. You will need to either have an unassigned family to guide them or a family assigned to the hitching post to get the best out of them. I usually just make sure I have the unassigned family, as they can also be used for constructing buildings as well as guiding the ox. As your town expands, don't forget to expand the amount of ox with it. The bigger you expand, the more materials and timber you'll need to be transported, and having more ox will make it far more efficient and easy to grow. How to build a hub in the same zone. This is a good one for if you have an iron, stone or clay source somewhat far away from your town and you want to build around that, or if you have a town built up and you're looking to expand out a bit. All you need to do is think as if you were starting a new zone. It's fairly similar to tip 6. You'll need a storehouse, granary, logging camp and a woodcutter's lodge at the minimum. You'll also want to have a look at building some burgage plots, enough to cover what construction you've just put down. Once you have the basics, you can look to connect the two together. As the new place builds up, more and more movement between the two will occur as goods are transported back and forth. This is a good way to try out new ways of doing things without having to completely start over. Bigger house extensions for the first 2 houses. The first 2 burgage plots you put down, you should try to build a big garden space. This is so that you can put down some carrots and start to get an extra food variety bonus as soon as possible. This is really helpful in the new maps as they are very different to the original base maps. Resources seem to be a bit more spread out than the original maps. This one will help to keep you going if you're finding it tough.
So what if the Bender and the Brondo had a baby? Well, you would get the Flexo.
It's a great way of building lots of houses that look aesthetically great but also serve a function. You can build apiaries in the center of this and a granary where you can store the honey that the bees make. However, as you can see, the burgage plots have a large garden which you can grow carrots and apples in. You can also store these in the granary and essentially you get a vast amount of food that you can use within your community, or you can sell any excess via the trade center to gain additional regional wealth. You can also mess around with this and adjust it to your own style, but the burgages do look really good like this. You can split them so half grow apples and the others carrots to get a good variety of food, or you can just have an absurd amount of one. You can place multiple of these across your land and they act as their own little hub, provided you follow tip number 3. Have a go at building them yourself and don't be afraid to put your own twist on it. I hope these tips help. Don't focus too much on being super successful and have a perfect start. Enjoy the game as much as possible. If you want everything to be amazing, then it will no doubt suck the fun out of it. Don't forget to like, subscribe and hit that bell icon so you don't miss the next episode, and I'll catch you in the next one.